Hello. A few days ago, I went to my girlfriend's place, Christel. She owns Fiola Farm. She is a shepherdess. She raises some beautiful meat sheep, and she also raises sheep for fiber. She is a natural dyer, natural yarn dyer, a wonderful mother of 3 beautiful girls. And just an absolutely incredible human. And I had the pleasure of going over there the other day, and she taught me how to butcher. I saw how she kills her animals and skins them, and we worked together side by side in just beautiful togetherness and processed an animal together, and showed me how to part it all out and bag it and everything together. Excuse me. Hey, down you get. So anyways, I got gifted with the hide. So this is my hide from my lamb. It was a black, or I think they call it, it was a black lamb, female. We affectionately called her Gail. A little bit of an inside joke with us. If you watch my other videos on us, then you'll maybe understand why. I guess I was tongue-tied. Anyways, this is my lamb. She has a brownish black hide. I guess they call it black because when you go down into the fiber, it actually looks black. My dog's hoping for some treats. So anyways, this is my hide, and I'm going to be working on it. I'm going to be brain tanning it. I've never done brain tanning. I have done one sheepskin hide once under supervision by a professional tanner. But this is my first time doing a sheepskin solo. My husband has dabbled a bit in deer skins, and a while back I did bear hide by myself. So lots of stuff to learn, but I feel obviously totally still a beginner, but definitely feel a little bit more comfortable. So this one I'm going to brain tan. The first step is to flesh it. And it's so, I got the hide Saturday night. Saturday we did the butchering. It's Monday. And so I'm going to flesh it. All of this fat on here, sorry, my dog's in the way. All of this, these bits on here, this is tallow. This is the sheep's fat, and I will be saving all of this because it's beautiful, beautiful fat. And I make soap. So I've made soap with sheep's tallow, with bear, and with lard. It's a great product to work with. You can use all sorts of animal fats in baking and cooking. You can use them in salves and soaps, and I'm sure there's a multitude of things that you could do. But so I'm going to be keeping this all, and then I'll render it all down and clean it so that there are no meat bits and other things. Right now I'm just going to work on fleshing. And when you flesh, basically you take a fleshing tool. This is one my husband made. It's kind of hard on my hands, but I can't find my good flesher. But a fleshing tool is basically this, and it's just a blunt blade that just pushes the membranes and the tissue and everything off and separates it, and you're left with this like kind of pearlescent tissue, and that is our hide. So you need to flesh your whole hide before you process onto anything else, and so that's what I am going to be working on. I'll just show you. So this is all the stuff that we want to get rid of, and the flesher will work on pulling that stuff down. So all of this stuff is going to come out and go into our bucket, and I'll render down later.
I've been doing it
all
all day.
And then we'll be left with this. And this will eventually get a brain solution on it, and then I'll work on softening it and smoke tanning it. But the first step is fleshing. So I haven't built the perfect frame to flesh because I wasn't prepared, so I just rigged something up, and basically I just put a pipe and put 2 pieces of wood so that it would support the pipe. And I've brought the skin up and bring it over top so that I'm actually pushing my weight on the hide and holding it, and then going against itself. And you don't want a sharp knife, because a sharp knife will cut your hide. A blunt fleshing tool just kind of creates it like a roll. It helps roll it off gently without piercing. And it is a physically intense its fleshing is very, very physical, and it takes a lot of work, and as it should be. During this time, you're thinking about this animal. And sometimes you have to use a knife just to loosen certain bits, but usually you shouldn't have to. And if you do have to use a knife, you want to use the blunt end, or use your knife in a way where it's not cutting, where you're kind of using just the bluntness of it. This flesher that I'm using, my husband made years ago with an old lawnmower blade and antlers off of a deer he took down. And it's a cool flesher. It does an okay job. The blade needs some work on it, but it's all I have right now. And when you're fleshing, it's best to use a pipe because it's rounded, and it'll help you work the hide, flesh the hide better, I should say. To make your job a little bit easier, you can also go in with a knife and cut off the larger bits of tallow before you begin fleshing, but I just thought it would be easier this way.
How much longer till we leave?
Oh. So my hide is all fleshed now. There are some little bits and stuff. Maybe you can see that. This will all come off with the scraper, but it's basically, it's fleshed. I could probably go at it a little bit more, but my setup in the flesher isn't all that great. Of course, I strongly feel like when you're doing anything like this to have the right tools, because the right tools will do the job properly. But yeah, so it's fleshed. I am going to, I need to find a bucket, fill it up with water, and wash the hide. But that won't happen for a little bit. And washing is just going to get rid of, it's not going to get rid of all the twigs and stuff. That'll happen during the combing stage. But for now, I need to wash it. It's got blood on it, and it's got poop and other matter in it that just needs to be rinsed out. So we're going to wash it, and then I'm going to rack it up and give it another scrape, but this time with my Mezzaluna, and at which point then I will probably brain it and cover it in I will rack it up and scrape it, and then I will take the brain and some water and rub it into the hide and let it sit like that for a little while, let the brain mixture soak in, then I'll rack it up again and go from there. So I might have gotten some of that process wrong. I have it written down, but this is the first time brain tanning. And you know, when you do a class, you have the instructor right there when you can ask questions and stuff, and I can't quite remember all the steps. Plus we did an alum tan with the hide that I did in class, and this one is done brain style. But anyways, it's been fleshed. It's going to need a good wash, which means it's probably going to need multiple dunks and rinses. And so we're on to the wet and cold part of working with our sheepskin, rinsing the hide. Normally when you butcher, it tends to be later in the season, and so it's cold. You have cold hands, cold water. I'm just thankful we have running water in November. We had to prime the pump a little bit, and it was a little bit icy, but that's all right. So now, are you guys being good? We are going to rinse the hide. And this just gets rid of all the little impurities, blood, any guts, that sort of thing. And it's good to put a little bit of Dawn dish soap. So I'm going to grab my dish soap and some gloves and get to working. Yep. You just want to massage the fur. You can take it, or the wool, and take it and rub it up against itself like you would scrubbing out a stain. My girlfriend Christel told me that she prefers to brush while it's wet, because then you keep in that curly texture. Hey, can you come get out of the mud, please? If you brush it when it's wet, you get to keep the curly texture. If you brush it when it's dry, you get that really fluffy look. And I'm not I'm fluffy look is fine. I'm not a huge fan of it. I like the more rugged, natural look of the sheepskin. So I will definitely look at I will be brushing it while it's wet if I'm able to.
Please put something in there.
I put some dish soap in here.
What?
So my water is dirty looking because it's well water, but the color has not changed since I put this hide in. So I would say that this hide is clean. I'm gonna leave it overnight here on my little rack, and I'll work on brushing it, and then tomorrow I'll rack it up and start the scraping and brain tanning process. Hopefully weather will allow me for that. This is a very labor intensive thing. You need to be strong or have help, because lifting a wet hide is not easy. There we go. Huh? I use an awl to poke holes in my hide so that my needle and twine will fit through. And you want to do it about 1 inch from where your hide ends. And you don't want to go too far in, but you don't want to go too far back as it might tear. And then I just use like a plastic tapestry needle and twine. And this, I think you can pick up at any like feed store, like it's baleen twine. You can use anything you want. You can use string. This stuff is just really cheap. And you start to rack up your hide. And it's good to start on one corner, work your twine out, and then start on another corner. And you want to slowly be pulling it relatively as tight as you can. And when you poke through your hide and go with the needle, you always want to start from the hide down. That way you're not pulling wool into your hide. Here you start, make a slip knot. And then start wrapping your frame. So this is what it looks like when you put it in. So I usually just measure my thumb a distance away from the hide, and always go into the hide and out through the wool. And I think it's called a slip knot. You just want to slip your thing through so that these are easy to unhook when you need to tighten, because as you work your hide, this will stretch and you'll need to tighten more. Now I'm going to go work this top part and frame that up and pull this tight so all of these will be stretched. So my sheepskin is all racked up, all up on the frame. And now I'm going to start using this tool to scrape it. And it's a little bit different than when we first did our course, because we obviously had way nicer weather. But I've actually done a bit, and I actually like the fact that it's a bit cold because a lot of this stuff comes off pretty nice. But I'll show you how we dry scrape a hide. Whoop! Basically what I'm doing is I'm holding this at a 90-degree angle and pushing in and scraping at the same time. And the hide is stretching, and all of this excess membrane is getting scraped off. And we're stretching our hide, breaking all that membrane. And this can take a lot of time or a little time, depending on how thorough you are. You just want to push and scrape and stretch your hide. And as you stretch it, this all gets loose, so you need to retie it up. So I'm going to be taking a break, but you can see it's starting to turn white here, and all of this stuff is starting to come off, and that's what you want. And you want it to be kind of soft, and you can push into this with your hand to really stretch it. What you don't want is like this stuff that almost feels like rawhide. So that's something you got to work on. But my arms are tired. I'm going to take a break. And I might even take this into the bunkhouse tonight and work my hands into it just to stretch. And take a pumice to all this. But that's it for now. So we are back at home. You can hear my kids in the background. This is my moist sheepskin, and I'm going to do another, I'm going to rub in some more brain, and then I'm going to roll it up and just let it sit here by the fire and soak in, and hopefully start the smoke tanning process tomorrow. I ended up just starting a fire in my pot, and basically I just want it to all go to coals, so I'm going to let this burn down. You don't want a lot of heat to it, so you absolutely no flame. Once this is burned down, I've got a stash of punky wood I'm going to toss on top of it. So I don't want a lot of heat in my little fire pot, so I'm going to let that burn down, and then I've got a tray full of like punky wood. It's frozen. I had tried to split most of it, but once it's almost burnt down, I'm going to add all that punky wood, and it's just going to create this really good smoke. You do want to, as far as I believe, you want to make sure that there's not a lot of heat, if any, in your pot. As I've done a bear hide already, and there was obviously still some heat, and it ignited the kindling that was in there, the punky wood, and it actually burnt part of my hide. So, that's the thing about doing all of this, is you learn lessons all along the way, and every hide, I think probably up until you're a master of the craft, and even once you're a master of the craft, you're still always adjusting. You're always making those little adjustments, because this is something that you go to teachers and you go to a variety of books, YouTube, whichever, and everyone has their idea of how to do it. And those are all guidelines, but they all still need to fit within your way of doing things. And there's still a lot of self-teaching, I believe, in hide tanning. So what I have learned is you have too hot of coals, and it will create too much heat, and in my instance, it singed my hides. But even still, with the singed hide, in my bear hides case, we will still salvage it. So it might not be this beautiful rug that I had imagined, but you live and learn, and you make do. All right, fire is smoky, so I gotta move quick here. working on the inside of the hide. I could wrap this in a sheet. I don't have one. I forgot to grab one the last time I was at the thrift store. And I'll probably have to adjust to make sure all aspects of the hide are getting smoked. But smoking is underway.